This conference will now be recorded.
Hey all, good morning.
Morning, Naveen.
Hello. Yeah, good morning all. So let us start already. I'm late. Yeah. So we were started discussing about Spring Core, right? Spring Core is having Spring 2 jar files, Spring 4 jar, and one context jar. Basically, these two jars are having most of the Spring Core features. And as part of Spring Core, they have provided IOC containers. They have provided embedded IOC containers. They have given IOC containers along with basic core features, along with basic core and J2EE features, basic core and J2EE features, along with containers support we have. We are talking about containers. We are talking about containers. Containers are capable, whatever the containers they have provided, we call them IOC containers. These IOC containers are capable to creating beans. Using this IOC, we can create beans, and we can do dependency injection also into these beans. Any dependencies if they have, we can do the dependency injection also. Your IOC will do that job. Coming to the dependency injection, when you have a bean class or a poso class, when this poso class having any dependencies like primitive dependencies, it can be a primitive, right? It can be any array type, or it can be any collection type. We understand how to do the dependency injection. We understand how to do the dependency injection, that too by using setter dependency injection. Dependency injection, again, we have two types. One is setter and another one is constructor. In these two ways, we can do dependency injection using a setter dependency injection or constructor, which means your poso class should have either setter methods or constructor to accept the dependencies, right? Your poso class should have a setter or a constructor. We understand how to do the dependency injection of all the primitives or arrays or collections using setter method. Okay, we'll talk about constructor. Now coming to collections also, we understand the default collections are when you use list in your poso class, when you use list in your poso class, and when you use list tag. For collections, we use list tag, right? We use this list tag for arrays, comma, collections. That too in collections, this is support for array list or its parent. List is supports for array list or its parent. Its parent is what? List interface. You can inject a values into array list using this list tag, or else its parent like a list, array list or list. Coming to set, set is useful for linked hash set. Linked hash set. It will use linked hash set. Linked hash set. And whereas map will use linked hash map. Okay, and properties will use properties only. Properties tag will use properties only. So we don't have any problem with properties, but we have problem with this default array list and linked hash set and linked hash map. So when you have a custom, or when you have a tree set, or when you have a tree map kind of dependency in your class, the default set tag, default map tags are not useful. They are not useful. So here, if you see, we did injections into this fruit class. We did many dependency injections into this fruit class, array of fruit names, integer of prices, right? And list of exporting countries, set of customers, map of states and capitals, right? So we used to pass that all values using, if it is array, we can use list. Simple primitive arrays, we can use list. When it is array list, you can use again list. When it is set, we use the set tag. right? When it is map, we use the map tag using entry, key and value we passed. When you have properties, we use props and prop to pass the property key and value. So till here, this is working fine. So we could able to run our class and we could able to see the data. So these are all the properties that injected that it could able to inject it. It is able to injecting it. So we are seeing the data here as it is injecting. Now the problem, as I told, if you have here, I will take one more list here, but this time I will not take list. Instead of list, I will take here linked list. I will take a linked list dependency here, one more dependency, exporting continents. Exporting continents. Okay. Now this dependency I have, I wanted to inject this one also. So generate getter and setter for this dependency as well. Basically for injection setter would be enough. Getter is not required. Getter is required until unless you read the data, right? You want to read your class data somewhere else, you need a getter method. Otherwise, getter is not at all required. So I created a setter method for this linked list and create new toString method just to print to data. Fine. Now this exporting continents is a linked list type. See how we can pass it. Okay. So while it is setter dependency injection, you no need to follow any particular order. Okay. So exporting continents I'm passing here. So this is, we are assuming that this is a list type. Linked list also list type, and we use here list tag. Use list tag and try to pass continents values. So this is how I have given continents. Now, when you try to run this, basically it should inject, right? If list is allowing to inject into linked list, but you are getting one exception here because of that new dependency injection. Error creating bean with F. So it is saying fruit bean creating error, initializing of bean, read the reason. Conversion not supported exception, something it is saying conversion failed to convert property value. See, it is saying I failed to convert the value array list to required linked list. So Spring understand the problem and that is printing as exception. I created array list, but I'm trying to passing into linked list. So there I got the fail. So into this property exporting continents, you created with a linked list, but I failed. Container is saying I failed because I created array list and when I try to pass it into linked list, I failed. So your container by default creating a array list object, so it is failed. When it try to inject into linked list, it failed. Similar way for set, instead of using set, if I use hash set here, if I use linked hash set, right? I will use tree set here. Use tree set of prime customers. I have one more property prime customers, and for map also I'll take one more different one. I'll do setters and getters. For map I'll take, as it is creating linked hash map, I'll create a tree map dependency. Tree map I'll take map of states and capitals. What I can take here, instead of states and capitals, I'll take country and capitals also we have, right? Take any other key value pair. Price and fruit, or fruit and price. Each fruit and its price I want to put it into a map. Price and fruit. I want to keep it as a key value pair. Okay, each fruit and its price I want to keep it into a map. Okay, now here I have custom collections. I mean, my required collections are linked to list, tree set, and tree map I have. As I said, the default list, default set, default map is not capable to do all your required collections. So if you use the same old approach, it is throwing exceptions. So when I run it, as I have only list dependency only we passed. So while trying to converting from default array list, it is failing it. So default array list, it is unable to convert array list to required type to linked list. It is failing. Same thing will happen with your set and map also. Same thing will happen with this set and map also. Here we have set, right? Here we have this set with the tree set prime customers. I'll try to inject prime customers here. Property, okay, prime customers. So prime customers data we have given with set, right? So prime customers also a set, but that is a tree set. So using this set, if I try to pass it into tree set, see what will happen. The same way map, right? We have map dependency here with the tree map, fruit and prices with key value pair I want to pass. So create one more setter method, property, fruit and prices. If you consider map will work for tree map, and if you use get, you will see the same kind of exception. Okay, for map, each map will have a entry key, each fruit and its value. Apple value 100. Mango. Consider this is how you are trying to passing it. So prime customers is a tree set type, and fruit and prices is a tree map type, and exporting countries is a linked list type. So I'm trying to injecting the list values using list, the tree set values using set, and the tree map values using map. By considering they will work, but they did not. You can see array list failure is one, array list to linked list. Okay, as we have exception while doing it itself, we are seeing this error, right? So let's comment this array list one. For time being, comment this and run again. Still getting exception. Failed to convert. Linked hash set to. So this is linked hash set. Internally, I am creating a linked hash set. Failed to convert property value of type linked hash set to tree set. So failing to convert linked hash set to tree set. Internally, it is creating. So let's comment this one as well and see about map. Same conversion not support. This time it is saying linked hash map to tree map. So by default, it is creating linked hash map and it is unable to convert into tree map. We see three problems, right? When you use list and when you try to pass it into linked list, it is saying for list I'm using array list and unable to convert into linked list. For set, it is saying linked hash set I created, unable to convert into tree set. For map, it is saying unable to convert into tree map as it is creating linked hash map. Okay, you got these three exceptions, right? Now, how to resolve it? How to resolve it when you have a custom collection dependencies? How to resolve this? Okay, how to resolve it? So to resolve this, okay, to resolve this, we have one util namespace. We have one util namespace. To resolve this, right? We have one util namespace. To resolve custom collections problem, we have util namespace. Util namespace. Util namespace. Namespace in the sense XML namespace. In XML, we have one util namespace. Using this util namespace, we can able to achieve it. Okay. So we need to use schema-based configurations for this one. So for this one, we need to use schema-based configuration in our XML file. Use util schema in use util schema in Spring XML file. We configured till now, we configured with DTD only. Now use util schema. Using schema based configuration, we can able to achieve it. Okay, let me show you the schema. Yeah, this is the util namespace. You need to use this namespace for using custom collections dependency injections. For injecting custom collections dependencies, you need to use namespace instead of DTD. So this is the DTD based configuration, right? Remove this DTD here, and on the parent tag itself, we configure the schemas. Inside this beans tag itself, we configure all the schema here. XML schema. So here I have util schema here. This is the util schema. Using this util, I can able to do the dependency injection now. How to do that? Here exporting countries, exporting continents. This is a list type. Okay, which list type? I want to pass my custom list. Okay, so here you can use util colon list. We need to use util colon list. There is a tag called util colon list for the custom collections dependency injection. Instead of using plain list, use the util list. From where this util namespace you got? Here. Here we have this namespace, right? Util. This is the key. If it is ut, you need to use ut. That is your required naming convention, right? You can use. Basically, we call it as util. If you change it to ut, you can use ut. Okay, so let's keep it as util only. So put util list. Now here you need to tell the value type, list type. We need to configure util list value type. need to configure like this. List class. List class. You need to specify your required class name here. I want to create it as a linked list. Using this tag, we are saying to the container, don't create array list object as a default. Use this class for creating this object. Internally, what it will do, while before doing dependency injection, Spring will create one linked list object. Inside linked list, it will store this Asia, America, Australia values, and that linked list value only it will pass here. Earlier, by default, it used to create array list object. Now onwards, it will start using linked list object for this property. Same thing with set. Util colon set. Here, set class. You need to pass set class here. Which set you want? Java.util. I need tree set. So pass your required class name here. So now onwards it will try to use tree set for passing this prime customer values. Coming to map, same thing. Util colon map. Util colon map. You can pass your required map value here. Map class. So my required map class is java.util. We used tree map. That's it. Now onwards it will create a tree map. In that tree map, this key and value it will add and it will inject into your fruit and prices tree map dependency. Here it will create tree set. In that tree set it will add this data and it will pass. Now run application and see. Now I have no exception. No exception here and my data injected. See this, verify your data. Is this injected or not? Root data, exporting countries, exporting continents injected, right? This is our linked list object. Exporting continents, linked list injected. And prime customers. This is our prime customers. This is our tree set. And states and capitals. Countries and capitals. There is one more, right? Fruit and prices. This is tree map. Tree map, tree set, and continents, linked list. So this is how you can pass your custom collections into your bean class using util namespace. Using util namespace. Are we clear? Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is how you can you are completely capable to inject anything into your class. It can be simple name or array or a primitive array or a list type, normal list or any custom list. Whatever it is, whatever collection you have, now you are capable to inject everything here. You are capable to inject everything here. And for these properties also we learned how to pass properties. Okay. Now I'll show you one more properties, one more dependency I'll take here for properties, countries and capitals from properties. Okay. I'm taking one more countries and capitals from properties. This is for what, we are passing these properties from XML file. Here I'm using XML file, right, to passing these properties from my Spring XML file. I'm giving properties using props and prop. This India and its capital, Pakistan its capital, Lanka its capital. All these values I'm passing here. Instead of passing from here, I can pass these values from properties file also. Okay. So I have one more properties dependency, countries capitals from props. Okay, this is one more dependency. This dependency values I want to pass from external properties file. Okay, so let's set countries and capitals, get countries and capitals. Override new to string. Okay, fine. Now these values I want to pass from properties file. I wanted to create one properties file here. Okay, file country cap dot properties, country cap dot properties. Here I want to pass that values. India equal to Delhi. Okay, so I have three properties. These three properties I want to inject from here. So, or else I'll put new here to understand these values are getting from these properties. Okay, so these new values I want to inject into which variable? Into this my country capital from properties variable. Into this country capitals variable I want to inject it. Okay, by reading from properties file. So for that one, you can use util namespace. You can use util namespace. One more property I have, which is countries capitals from properties. You put that here, and using util namespace, you can load properties data. Util colon properties we have. Util colon properties. Here we have properties location. You can give resources slash country cap dot properties. So from this location, now it will read your properties. It will create a property object by reading these properties. Okay, these properties it will read. Spring will create one properties object. That object it will inject here. Okay, let's run and see. See countries and capitals from properties. So countries and capitals also injected all the new values. See, you are able to read properties file data and you could able to inject it also. This data we are able to reading here using what? Using util namespace. Using util namespace, we can able to read this properties data, and this properties file data we are injecting into this setter method. Okay, whatever data we have, using this data it will create a properties object. By reading this data, Spring will create a properties object. That object it will inject here. Okay, so when you have custom collections, you need to go with this util namespace for your custom list or set or map. And if you want to read properties from external file also, you can do this. You can do this using util properties. You can directly read properties from properties file. Okay, so this is one more cool feature that we have from util namespace. So now we are capable to inject anything into our class. Is it? We are capable to inject strings, string arrays, primitives, primitive arrays, any collections, right? And that to properties from properties file. So these many capabilities we have. Okay, we understand that all built-in types we can able to inject. These all are built-in, right? These all are built-in from Java. So these all are built-in classes from Java, strings or integers or collections or properties. We understand all these built-in classes, whatever you use, from your Java, whatever built-in class you use, it's an array type or anything, right? You can inject them from Spring XML file. In case if you have any custom class dependency, right? If root class, if it have any other class dependency, which is custom class dependency, how to inject that? Okay, how to inject your custom classes here? Okay, now I have a root class. Let me create one more class here. Okay, let me create one more class here. Customer. Have a customer class here. Private. Customer wants to get fruit as a dependency, or else customer name. We will inject customer into fruit. Customer name. Customer email. I have two customer properties. Again, those are primitives. Customer is having two dependencies, name and email. Customer is having two primitive dependencies only. We know how to inject that. Using setter methods, we can call these two customer name and email and we can pass them. Now consider this customer object, we have a dependency here, private customer. Now customer class, it's a custom type. It is not a predefined Java class. It's my Java class customer. I want to inject this customer also into my fruit class. For that one, you need a setter method and you need a getter method. Set customer, get customer. And if you want to print customer also here, to override to string. Now my fruit class is having not only primitives, not only collection dependencies, not only properties dependencies. It is having one another class object also as a dependency. So can we able to create another class object? Yes, another class object anyway, that is also similar like our fruit class. I can create this customer class object also through my XML file, but can I able to pass that another class object into this fruit class? Can I do that dependency injection? Yes, that is the major thing that we need to achieve, otherwise not much use from the Spring. So this is the basically the great feature that we have. Into one class another class dependency also we can pass. This customer object you can create in Spring XML file and you can inject into fruit. Let us see how to do that. Fruit is having one more dependency now, property customer. But this customer is not a primitive type, not a collection type. To pass a simple value or to list, it's not a simple type. So customer is a secondary type. That customer object I need to pass here. First, you need to create customer object also separately. One more bean ID, customer ID, customer CST, class name, beans dot customer. Now this customer bean also having two dependencies. This customer bean also having customer name and email. Inject them. Property, customer name, and customer email. Customer name and customer email I have. Now this customer object I wanted to pass here. Okay, so here I have a customer dependency. So Spring by default it cannot able to create customer object. So you need to create a bean. You need to create a bean so that using this customer it will create a customer object. So whatever object you provided here, you can inject that object here. So to inject that object, what you need to use is You need to use reference here. You can use reference here, and you can pass your reference CST. So self-ending, with self-ending also you can close. Now property customer, for into properties customer, it is injecting the CST object. So if you have any another class object as a dependency, any custom class object as a dependency in your class, any custom class object as a dependency in your class, first you need to create that custom class object, and you can inject that object as a reference here. Now Spring will inject this bean, whatever customer bean it will create, right? This bean it will inject here. Okay, so the customer bean it will inject here, and your fruit class now it is able to access. See, I'm printing fruit only. Inside fruit toString method, I'm printing customer data also. As customer data, it is able to injecting that customer information also. We should able to see. So at the end, customer information, customer data, customer data also it is able to show it, because customer object also we would able to injecting it, as it is a secondary data type which is our custom data type. So we injected customer object which Spring created using this, right? Using this bean it is creating customer object, and this using ID I'm injecting it here, I'm injecting it there. So this is how customer object you can inject. So as I have one single customer object, I injected like this. If you have customer array object, customers object, if you have array of references also you can pass. Customers, if you have customers object, if you have, again same thing, you can have a set customers, get customers, set customers object, get customers object. You can inject array of customers also, no issues. You can inject array of customers also, collection of customers also. That's all your wish. Okay. So how to inject if it is having array of customers? Consider I have two customer objects here, customer 1, customer 2. Okay. So into plain dependency, I can pass customer 1. I have customers dependency also, customers object. Into this customers object, I need to pass multiple customers. Into customers object here, I need to pass multiple object references. Can I pass comma separated values here? Customer 1 comma customer 2. I hope it will not work, as this is array type. Run it. Comma separated values you should not pass, as these are multiple references that you should pass instead of this, right? Between property and property, this customers object is a array type. The customers object is a array type. When it is array, how we deal with? This is array type, and string array, for integer array we use list, right? Similar way here also you can use list. For your customer array, you can use list here. And list of what you need to pass? List of references you need to pass, not list of values. Now these are secondary type. You need to pass list of references. Okay, reference bean. What is your reference bean? CST1, and there is one more reference bean, CST2. So this is how you can pass multiple or array of custom object values using list. So internally it will create array. Into that array it will add two customer objects and it will inject it. See now, no exception. So customers object. So the customers object also injected. Customers object, array of customers. Customer 1, customer 2. both objects injected into this. Okay, this is how you can inject your custom objects also into another class. If you have any custom object as a dependency also, you can inject your custom object. If it is only one object reference, use reference. If you have multiple, which means array, you can pass them using reference beans. You can pass using reference bean. This is how you can able to do the dependency injection of secondary types. This is the main thing. Okay, this is the main thing that we need to understand. Basically, when you build a MVC application, right? Basically, your POSO class may have this type dependencies along with another class as a dependency. So when you implement a complete end-to-end use case, right, with a form considered, we have one form presentation page. So from here, UI, when you submit this data, we generally write controller, one controller from the backend side. We write one controller in our backend. So controller also a poser, okay? Controller poser we create, and from controller we call service class or business class, okay? So business poser we will have like your fruit and customer. If you consider this controller as fruit and business as a customer, this business object you need to inject into controller. Not only that, business will have another class dependency. You know, you can have chain of dependencies, multiple DAO, POSO. So to call, right, when you submit the data from UI, user data we generally get, user will pass some data. Now your classes, one class should call another class methods. So these classes objects also we will have dependencies into each other. So here this class object we need to pass it into this class, and this class object we need to pass it into this class by using dependency injection. Using dependency injection, we need to create these objects and we need to inject them into each other. DO into business, business into controller, right? Something like this. If you consider this example, if we consider here, fruit is your controller. Fruit is having dependency of customer. Customer is a business. Okay, we create all that beans here, all the business class beans and DO beans, and we inject one into another. We inject one into another using reference. Okay, so this is the main type that we use. We'll see going forward, right? When we implement MVC classes, we see many such dependencies. Okay, so this is how we can able to achieve dependency injection. Now you are 100% capable to do the dependency injection, right? If someone asks what is dependency injection, in a simple words, you can say dependency injection is a methodology, or dependency injection is a feature that Spring provided. Dependency injection feature Spring provided to inject any values from XML file to our POSO class, to inject any values. So there you can describe any values, which means any primitives or any arrays, any collections, or any custom object, any Java predefined objects, or any our custom classes objects also we can inject. Okay, we are clear?
Yeah, and I mean, these all will happen at runtime, right?
Yes, at runtime when you start your application. So this is the thing, right? We are loading our XML file here into class path XML application context. This is your IOC container. When you load this XML, your IOC container will start creating objects, and then it will do the dependency injection. First it will create your objects, then it will do the dependency injection.
Okay, got it.
Okay, everything will happen at runtime. Okay, once IOC container read this XML and it will create object, then it will do the dependency injection. This is the beauty of Spring. Okay, using Spring Core, you can able to do this. Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay. So let's revise. Okay. So what we understand till now is we have IOC containers from Spring Core module. We have IOC containers. Spring Core is a simple framework, right? Given with two jar files from Spring. So it have basic features along with containers. Containers, we call them as IOC containers. Their main responsibility is they will create your bean objects and it will do dependency injections. Okay, so dependency injection into what and which beans objects it will create. All classes we consider as POSO classes. So all your classes objects IOC will create. Then if your class, if it have any dependency like primitives, arrays, collections, or any secondary type, which means your custom dependencies, everything we can inject. For injecting that, they given many tags here. We understand about them, right? For calling setter methods, first we use property tag, and once we call the setter method, if we have arrays type, we will use list, and if it is collections array list, we use list. If it is collections set, we use set tag. If it is collections map, we use map tag. If we have simple properties dependency, we use props. Apart from that, if you have any custom collections, apart from array list, if you have linked list, we use util namespace. Then we pass our list required linked list name here. For the set, we use set class. For map, we use the map class and the required map class name we pass here. And if you have properties in external file, we use util properties and we can read and inject it. And if your class, if it have any custom object dependency, we can create that custom object and we can pass it as a reference here. And if you have custom array of objects, again you can go with list and you can pass them. Okay, so this is all about dependency injection. Okay, I'll send this example, just go through it. Okay, apart from this, you may not see any other major dependencies apart from this. Now you are capable to inject anything. You understand everything, how to inject values into your POSO classes. Okay, uh, yeah, that's all for today.
Is there
Tomorrow
any material video?
I shared. Did you receive?
No, sir, I didn't receive. Only I received for a daily video class video.
Spring.pdf I uh, shared today's lectures link. Karan, did you share your email ID? If your mail ID is not given, please share. Okay, whatever email IDs I have, for them I am sending it. Everyday example and with PDF also I shared already.
Sir, but I didn't get.
Is it
I
Me too,
Shekhar?
sent
sir. I didn't receive any daily class link also.
Sorry,
exam.
Vaibhav, didn't you get?
No, no, sir, I didn't get.
Me too, sir.
Supriya, did you
No, sir,
get?
I didn't get.
Okay, I'm sharing, right? To whom I shared? Uh, okay, just do one thing. Can you please share your email IDs once again here? I did share. Actually, I can show you through my mail also. Let me stop recording.